The airport lounge was quiet until one sentence changed everything. A security officer walked in fast, looking serious. He pointed at a black man sitting alone near the window and said he needed backup immediately. Other travelers turned their heads. Some started recording with their phones. The officer believed the man did not belong there, but he was wrong, very wrong. The man he just called for backup on was not a random traveler. He was a senior FBI supervisor. Now before I continue this story, I want to know something important. Where are you watching from? Please write your country or city in the comments. And if you enjoy real stories like this, please subscribe to the channel right now. It truly helps us keep bringing you powerful stories that matter. Thank you for your support. Now let's continue. His name was Ethan Cole. He was 52 years old. He worked for the Federal Bureau of Investigation as a senior supervisor. He had been in law enforcement for over 20 years. He had handled serious cases across the country. That day, Ethan was traveling alone. He was wearing simple clothes, dark jacket, plain pants, no flashy items. He was not showing off anything. He just wanted to relax before his flight. He sat in the lounge because he had access. He had the right credentials. His badge was in his bag. He was waiting for his flight like everyone else. He was checking messages on his phone when he noticed someone standing near him, a uniformed airport officer. The officer was Officer Grant Lewis. He had been working airport security for 6 years. He was alert and strict. That day, he was already stressed because the airport was busy. Lewis looked at Ethan's ID card from a distance. He did not ask first. He did not confirm properly. He assumed something was wrong. He walked away quickly and spoke into his radio. "I need backup in the lounge. Possible unauthorized individual." Ethan heard it clearly. He slowly looked up. He did not move fast. He did not argue. He stayed calm. That calmness would soon confuse everyone. Within minutes, 2 more officers entered the lounge. The room became tense. Travelers stopped talking. One officer stood near the entrance. Another walked toward Ethan. Officer Lewis said, "Sir, we need you to stand up and cooperate." Ethan remained seated. He spoke calmly. "I have done nothing wrong. You can check my credentials." Lewis replied in a firm tone, "We will handle that. For now, please stand." Other travelers were watching closely. Some looked uncomfortable. A few whispered. One person muttered something about security threat. Ethan stood slowly. He did not show anger. He did not raise his voice. He said clearly, "You called backup before confirming my identity. That was not necessary." Lewis looked annoyed. "We follow procedures." Ethan answered, "So do I." At that moment, one officer stepped closer and asked for identification again. Ethan reached into his bag. He pulled out his wallet and removed a federal badge. When the officer saw it, his expression changed immediately. He looked at it carefully. It was real. Not a copy. Not fake. The lounge became silent. Officer Lewis stared at the badge. Then he looked at Ethan again. "You're with the FBI?" he asked. Ethan replied, "Yes, Senior Supervisor." Lewis felt the pressure rise in his chest. Backup had already arrived. Several travelers were filming. The situation could not be reversed easily. One of the backup officers stepped back slightly and whispered something to Lewis. The mistake was clear. Lewis had assumed Ethan did not belong because of how he looked and how he was dressed. There was no evidence of wrongdoing, no suspicious behavior, just assumption. Ethan did not shout. He did not insult anyone. He said something simple but powerful. "You should ask questions before making assumptions." His tone was steady. Lewis looked uncomfortable but tried to stay professional. "We apologize if there was confusion," he said. But the damage was already done. The situation had been seen by many people. Phones were recording. The story was spreading inside the airport. Ethan knew what could happen next. He stayed calm because he understood the bigger picture. He had seen similar cases before in his work. He did not want conflict. But he also would not ignore what just happened. Ethan asked to speak privately with the airport security supervisor. After a few minutes, Supervisor Helen Rivera arrived. She was informed about the incident. She walked in with a serious face. She looked at Ethan's badge herself. She confirmed it was valid. Then she turned to Officer Lewis. "Why was backup called?" she asked. Lewis explained that he believed the man did not have access and was acting suspicious. Rivera asked, "Did you verify before calling for backup?" Lewis hesitated. That hesitation said everything. Ethan spoke again, still calm. "Rule. If you had asked me first, this would not have escalated." Rivera nodded. The lounge felt heavy. Other travelers were still watching. Some looked shocked. Some looked ashamed. One person quietly said, "That escalated fast." Ethan did not look angry, but he was serious. He said, "This is not about me. It is about procedure. We must treat everyone fairly." Rivera agreed. She thanked Ethan for staying calm. Then she dismissed the backup officers. The crowd slowly began to relax. But the story was far from over, because what happened next would reveal something even bigger about this airport security process. and it would force a serious internal review. The lounge was calm again, but the situation had already spread inside the airport. Phones had recorded everything. People were posting short clips online. Some were asking questions. Others were making assumptions. The security team knew the issue could not be ignored. Ethan remained inside the lounge while supervisors discussed what to do next. He did not leave. He did not argue. He waited. Within 30 minutes, the airport's head of security arrived. His name was Robert Hayes. He had been informed that backup was called on a senior federal officer. That alone made the matter serious. Hayes entered the lounge with 2 assistants. He asked for a private meeting. Ethan agreed. They moved to a small office near the lounge. Hayes started with one clear question. Can you explain exactly what happened? Officer Lewis was present, so was Supervisor Rivera. Lewis explained that he believed Ethan did not have proper clearance and that his behavior seemed unusual because he was sitting alone and not interacting with others. Hayes listened carefully. Then he turned to Ethan. Ethan responded calmly. I was seated. I showed my access pass when asked. Instead of confirming, backup was called. That decision created tension. He did not raise his voice. He did not insult anyone. Hayes asked to see the footage from the security cameras. Rivera immediately requested it from control. Within minutes, they watched the recording. The video clearly showed Ethan entering the lounge with valid access. It also showed that Officer Lewis did not fully verify the credentials before calling for backup. There was no threat, no aggressive action, no rule broken. Just assumption. After reviewing the footage, Hayes spoke firmly. This was not handled correctly. Lewis looked down. Hayes continued. When we act without confirming facts, we create fear. That is not acceptable. Ethan added one sentence. I understand caution, but caution must be based on evidence, not appearance. That statement stayed in the room. There was no shouting, no drama, just truth. Hayes asked if Ethan wanted to file a formal complaint. Ethan paused for a moment. He said, I want this reviewed, not for punishment, for improvement. That response surprised everyone. He was not trying to destroy anyone's career. He wanted better training. Rivera agreed. She said the incident would be documented and reviewed by the department. Hayes thanked Ethan for staying calm during the situation. But something else was now happening. News of the event was spreading outside the airport. A short video clip had already reached social media. It showed an officer calling backup on a black man sitting quietly in the lounge. Many people reacted strongly. Some were angry. Some defended the officers. Some asked for more information before judging. Inside the airport, staff began discussing the situation quietly. Ethan knew how quickly stories could grow online. He did not try to hide. Instead, he agreed to a short statement with airport leadership present. The goal was clarity. Rivera prepared a small room. A few staff members gathered. Ethan spoke simply. I was treated based on assumption. I stayed calm because that is my responsibility. Security is important, but fairness is also important. He did not accuse anyone of racism directly, but everyone understood the concern. Hayes added, we will review our procedures to make sure identity verification happens before escalation. That statement mattered. Later that day, Lewis asked to speak privately with Rivera. He admitted he felt embarrassed. He said he acted quickly because he believed something felt off. Rivera asked him one important question. Did you verify fully before calling backup? Lewis admitted he did not complete the verification process. That was the key issue. In security work, procedures exist for a reason. Skipping steps can create unnecessary conflict. Rivera explained that training would be updated. She told Lewis that mistakes can happen, but they must be corrected. Lewis accepted responsibility. Before Ethan left the airport office, Hayes asked if he would allow his identification to be fully confirmed for internal. He provided his federal credentials. His position was verified without doubt. The internal team realized something important. If the situation had escalated further without checking his identity, it could have caused serious legal and public damage. Hayes understood this clearly. He scheduled a meeting with all security officers the following week to review procedures. The focus would be proper identification checks, clear communication, avoiding assumptions, calm de-escalation methods. Ethan appreciated the decision. He said, this review will help everyone. He did not ask for special treatment. He only asked for fairness. By evening, the airport returned to normal operations. Passengers moved freely. The lounge was open again, but staff were more aware. The incident had reminded everyone that judgment must be based on facts. Ethan prepared to board his flight. As he walked through the terminal, some employees recognized him. They did not make a scene. They simply nodded respectfully. He responded politely. No tension remained in his body. He had handled the situation correctly, not by force, not by anger, but by staying calm and letting truth speak. Inside airport leadership, one serious discussion continued. How could procedures be improved so that identity verification always happens before backup is called? Hayes believed training needed adjustment. Rivera agreed. They planned updated instructions for all officers. The goal was simple: prevent unnecessary escalation, protect passengers, and protect officers from making emotional decisions. The event would not be ignored. It would become a case study for better training. But the public reaction was still growing, and the steward was about to retire attention because someone else had seen the video. And that person was not a random viewer. It was someone with influence inside federal law enforcement. The video from the airport spread fast. It reached news pages and discussion forums. People were debating what happened. Some said it was a clear mistake. Others said security officers must always be cautious. The discussion grew bigger each hour. Inside the FBI headquarters, the clip also appeared in internal reports. That is when Deputy Director Elaine Porter was informed. She reviewed the footage carefully. She did not react emotionally. She wanted facts. The report confirmed 3 things. 1. Ethan Cole had valid clearance. 2. Backup was called before full verification. 3. No threat existed. Porter decided the matter needed internal attention. She contacted Ethan directly, not to blame him, but to understand the situation fully. Ethan was in his office when he received the call. Porter spoke clearly. "We reviewed the incident. We want your full account." Ethan explained everything calmly. He described how he was seated, how he presented his credentials, and how backup arrived quickly without full verification. Porter listened without interrupting. When he finished, she said something important. "This is not about you personally. It is about procedure." Ethan agreed. Porter then asked one direct question. "Did you feel treated unfairly?" Ethan answered honestly. "Yes, because assumptions were made before facts were confirmed." There was no anger in his voice, just clarity. Porter thanked him for his professionalism. She assured him the FBI would not ignore the issue. The FBI leadership opened a formal review of airport coordination procedures. They contacted airport leadership to cooperate. The goal was not to create conflict between agencies. The goal was to improve communication. Officer Lewis was informed that his actions would be reviewed by both airport management and federal partners. He was not suspended immediately. Instead, he was placed under observation while the review continued. This was standard procedure. Outside, public attention kept growing. Community groups began asking questions about bias in security decisions. Some demanded accountability. Others defended the officers, saying security is a hard job. News discussions focused on one main issue: why was backup called before full identity confirmation? Experts explained that procedures must be followed step by step. If verification is skipped, unnecessary escalation can happen. The video became a training example in online forums about law enforcement conduct. Ethan did not post anything publicly. He did not argue online. He stayed focused on his work. A meeting with both agencies. A joint meeting was scheduled between FBI leadership and airport security leadership. Representatives from both sides attended. Porter joined the meeting. Hayes and Rivera represented the airport. Ethan was present as well. The atmosphere was serious. Porter spoke first. "This situation shows we need better coordination." Escalation. Hayes agreed. Rivera added that training updates were already being prepared. Porter emphasized one key principle: security must protect people, but it must also protect dignity. Everyone agreed. Several improvements were proposed. Clearer identification confirmation steps, mandatory verification before calling backup in non-threat situations, additional bias awareness training, better communication between agencies. These were not small changes. They required new guidelines, but leadership believed they were necessary. Officer Lewis was asked to attend additional training. He accepted without argument. He understood that his decision created unnecessary tension. During the meeting, someone asked Ethan if he wanted anything else. He paused before answering. He said, "I want this to prevent future incidents." That is enough. He did not demand punishment. He did not demand compensation. He wanted improvement. That statement changed the tone of the room. It showed leadership without authority. After full review, the official conclusion was clear. No criminal action occurred. Procedures were not followed correctly. Training updates were required. Officer Lewis received formal corrective action. Not termination, but documented disciplinary review and retraining. The airport agreed to adjust their protocol. The FBI agreed to improve cross-agency communication. Both sides accepted responsibility. A joint statement was released. It explained that the situation had been reviewed and improvements were being made. It did not blame any race or group. It focused on procedure. The goal was transparency. The statement helped calm public discussion. Some people were still unhappy, but many appreciated the clear response. Ethan returned to his normal duties. He did not speak much about the incident. When colleagues asked, he simply said, "It is resolved." He continued supervising cases as usual. The event did not change his professionalism, but it became part of internal training materials. His calm behavior during the incident was highlighted as an example of proper conduct under pressure. The story was not over yet, because the final outcome would reveal something unexpected about Officer Lewis himself, and it would show whether the training changes truly made a difference. The next development would test everything that was just promised. 2 weeks after the incident, the airport held mandatory retraining sessions for all security officers. Officer Grant Lewis attended the session quietly. He did not try to avoid it. He showed up on time. He listened carefully. The training focused on 3 main points: verify identity fully before escalation, ask clear questions first, avoid assumptions based on appearance. The trainers used the airport lounge case as a real example. They did not share Ethan's full identity publicly, but they explained that the person involved had valid federal clearance. The lesson was simple: procedures matter. After the training session ended, Rivera asked Lewis to stay behind for a private discussion. She did not yell. She did not threaten him. She spoke clearly. You made a fast decision. Fast decisions are sometimes needed. But this was not an emergency situation. You skipped steps. Lewis nodded. He responded honestly. I thought I was protecting the airport. Rivera replied, protection must follow rules. If rules are skipped, trust is damaged. Lewis understood that now. He asked if he could personally apologize to Ethan. Rivera said she would arrange it if Ethan agreed. Ethan agreed to meet. The meeting took place in a neutral office inside the airport complex. No cameras, no media, just the 2 men and Supervisor Rivera. Lewis stood straight and spoke clearly. I made a mistake. I called backup without fully confirming your credentials. That was wrong. I apologize. There was no long speech, no excuses. Ethan looked at him calmly. He replied, I accept your apology. I also hope you apply what you learned. That was it. No drama, no shouting, just responsibility. Rivera thanked both of them for handling the matter professionally. The incident had already led to changes. New verification checklists added to security protocol. Mandatory confirmation step before backup in non-violent situations. Additional cross-training between airport staff and federal agencies. These updates were shared across the airport system. Other airports were informed as well. The goal was prevention, not punishment. Over time, the story slowed down in the news. It was no longer trending. But inside security departments, it remained an example used in training. The focus was on learning from mistakes. Some community groups appreciated the changes. Others still demanded broader reforms in security practices nationwide. But in this case, the agency showed cooperation instead of conflict. That mattered. A month later, Ethan was asked during a routine internal meeting how he felt about the outcome. He answered clearly. The system worked because we reviewed it. That is what matters. He did not say he was satisfied. He said the process improved. That was his priority. He believed accountability should lead to improvement, not revenge, not silence. Improvement. Lewis completed additional professional development training. He studied de-escalation methods. He practiced better communication skills. He also attended sessions focused on unconscious bias awareness. He did not complain. Instead, he focused on becoming better at his job. His supervisors noticed the change in his behavior. He began asking questions before acting. He double-checked credentials carefully. He became more patient. The incident changed him. 6 weeks after the event, the airport conducted an internal audit. The report confirmed. Procedures were updated. Training compliance increased. No repeat escalation incidents occurred. The improvements were working. Ethan continued his federal duties without interruption. The airport strengthened its cooperation with federal partners. Trust slowly improved. Not because the mistake never happened, but because it was handled correctly afterward. This story was not about blame. It was about procedure. It was about how quickly assumptions can create tension. It was about how professionalism can prevent escalation. And it showed something important. Calm behavior under pressure can change the outcome of a serious situation. Ethan did not fight. He did not argue. He followed process. That helped resolve the matter. Security systems are built to protect people, but they must also protect fairness. When identity is verified properly, unnecessary backup calls can be avoided. When communication is clear, tension decreases. When mistakes are reviewed honestly, systems improve. That is what happened here. No violence, no physical harm, just a serious misunderstanding that became a learning moment for 2 agencies. And because of it, new safeguards were put in place. The airport became more careful. The officers became more trained. And the agencies worked better together.